But South Africa is hosting the G20. Both of you are quite involved. And I know Standard Bank is the lead partner. What would be your measure of success out of this convention, if you will, of the world in Africa?
What's the one big thing? I would say a win for South Africa would be the policy stances adopted at the end of the G20, led by South Africa, get adopted by the United States next year. That would be a win. Now, there are hundreds of recommendations people are making. And as a banker, can I just tell you about three that relate
Of course,
to
yes.
the finance and infrastructure task force that I was chairing? The continent needs about $170 billion a year of infrastructure. It's the roads, the bridges, the connectivity that we're talking about. But we can only raise 85 billion. How are we going to close that gap? So that's the first thing. Build the right infrastructure, finance it appropriately, but how do we find the money? We do so by asking people to change some of the rules and regulations that make it difficult for foreigners to invest and also for domestic financial institutions, whether they be insurance companies or banks, by virtue of a set of rules and regulations called the Basel rules, the Basel III. Essentially, what we're basically saying is they should be changed so that we as banks hold less capital for the funding that we provide. If we hold less capital, we can lend more. And the reason for that is because the data tells us that the capital we're being made to hold is too much relative to the riskiness of our project. So that's the one. And if that was allowed, we would be able to do more in our projects. We're also saying change the rules so that we can partner with development finance institutions, multilateral, so the DBSA, the Africa Finance Corporation, and so forth. Partner with them so that we can attract banks as well, again, and insurance companies and philanthropies to do what people are referring to as blended finance. And then the third set of recommendations says, well, if you stimulate the funders to invest in that infrastructure, the money gets into the economy, but how do you get it to flow right through to SMEs? Many recommendations, one of which, for example, is please pay them on due date. Don't hold back on their funding, on their money. Pay them after 180 days, as people often do. Pay them on due date would be it. So we've contributed to that finance track, but the ultimate outcome we would love would be the president has led the packaging of these recommendations, and the U.S. authorities take them forward.
Got it. So policies and partnerships are at the center of what you want to see as this is a win for us to be able to do the things we want to do.
Ralph, can I just mention why, so that people don't just understand why I'm making reference to the US? They're
the next chair of the G20, and I think Vance will be coming through to South Africa to take that on. Ralph, from your end?
Look, I mean, I think Sim has covered it fully, so I won't spend too much time on the point, because I think the outcome he raises is the one that I think business collectively in South Africa has, which is the recommendations are accepted. Why that is important in this particular geopolitical climate is that it will signal an embracing of this kind of multilateral approach, which I think has been shaken a bit to the core, if I may say so. So it would be a clear signal that there is this appreciation that actually we're better together. Success would be that they are taken forward and that we can measure in a year's time that there's been progress on these resolutions.